Okay, so welcome to lesson 12. Okay, go ahead and set up your equation. 2x equals star plus 6. I already forgot. Okay. All right. What do you notice about this equation? Does it look similar to yesterday? What do you notice about the pawns? Eric?
It has two blue pawns on one side and two X's on the side, and then it has a star and number 2 on the other side.
Yeah. So again, we have a situation where we have X's on one side and stars on the other. So yesterday we learned what was our legal move? When we're in this situation, what did we learn to do yesterday? Charlie?
And 0 pairs?
Yeah, and so how do we know which side to add the 0 pair to?
The opposite side of the cube.
Yeah, so keeping in mind, same thing. We always want, these problems will be easier today because I think, again, it'll only be cubes on one side, so we're not subtracting cubes as we're learning these couple of moves. But you always want to have your number cube by itself. So you're trying to take off whatever's next to your number cube. So yesterday we learned to add a 0 pair to the opposite side. So today I'm going to teach you an alternative approach, which means what? If I taught you yesterday one way and today I teach you an alternate approach, what does that mean? Maggie?
I'm pretty sure it means that it's like doing the same thing, except it's just a different way to do it.
Exactly. So you'll have some options, and that's what I was kind of saying when we were checking our work. You'll have some options as to how to solve these equations. Okay, so here is your alternate approach. Does it make sense? So, of course, we always want our, the focus is to balance our equation and keep our scale balanced. So we know if we add a 0 pair to either side of an equation, that doesn't change the balance. Would it make sense to you, or does it seem reasonable? Could you add the same pawn to each side of an equation without messing up the balance? Yeah, because it's the same value, right? So look what happened. By adding what's opposite of the number cube, so opposite of a star is a blue pawn or what? X. So by adding the opposite of what's next to your number cube, so I have one star, which means I'm going to add the opposite of blue, or an X, to each side. What legal move have I now created? What do you notice? Danny?
Take off the next one.
Okay, well, a lot of times people say that, which I know because, okay, so now I've just added the opposite of star, which is X, to each side. It's really important because think of keeping that scale balance. It has to be to each side, otherwise it would be off. By doing that, I know a lot of times people say, okay, take off an X. Now you see your X. But if you did that, then you're back to your same situation. So what's a different legal move, Anthony?
You could take away the X and the star.
So now I've created a 0 pair next to my number cube. So I can take my 0 pair off. So go ahead and remove your 0 pair now. Did you add your X to each side? So by doing that, now you're left with 3x equals 6. So we know that x is equal to 2. And star equals? Negative 2. So it's just a different approach to what we did yesterday. And we'll do our check. So back to our original setup. So x is equal to 2. So we have 2 plus 2 is 4. And then if we go 6 minus 2, we have 4. So I'll draw it out for you so you can see. And again, it doesn't, today I'm going to ask you, at least for the first 4 problems, to use this legal move. But it won't matter. It's just a different option to solve your problems. Okay, so we added the opposite of what's next to our number cube to both sides, which we know is an X. So I'm going to show that I'm adding it by drawing the arrow down. Then we've removed our 0 pair. X is equal to 2, star is equal to negative 2. And then our check, so we did 2 plus 2 equals 4, and then 6 minus 2 equals 4. Maggie?
So if you're always adding the opposite of the number that's next to the number cube, will you always be taking a 0 pair?
Yes. Yes, you will. Did you guys hear that question?
Yeah.
If you're adding the opposite, that's why you're doing it. You're adding the opposite of what's next to the cube so you can create that zero pair. Exactly. Okay, so let's try another one. You can clear your balance. Okay. So left side, or here's our equation. So we have x plus 2x plus 4 equals star. So go ahead and set that up. So looking at your balance or looking at my balance, what's our goal here? What are we trying to take off in this equation? What do we want to remove in this equation? Eva?
The 3 x's by the cube.
Yeah, so we want this number cube isolated by itself. So we want to take off those 3 x's. So what's our new approach? What's our new way of taking off these 3 x's? Danny?
Add 3 zero pairs.
So that was yesterday's, which would work. But today, we talked about adding the opposite to each side. So the opposite of 3 x's is what? 3 stars. Okay, so here's the deal though. You're adding 3 stars to both sides. It's really important that you don't just add your 3 stars to one side, right? Because then your equation wouldn't be balanced. So go ahead and add your 3 stars to each side. So now, what legal move have you just created? What can you do next? Nina?
Take 3 0 pairs.
So now I can get rid of my 3 0 pairs. I'm borrowing that, guys. Thanks. Now I have gotten rid of my 3 0 pairs, and I'm left with 4 is equal to 4 stars. So star is equal to what? 1. And then x is equal to negative 1. So let's do our check. So we said x is negative 1, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's just subtract. So 4 minus 1 minus 1. So 4 minus 3 equals 1, and then we already have our 1 on our opposite side. Easy? I think the biggest thing is just remembering, it, like we had to add 3 stars, but to each side. So just remember, when you're adding the opposite, always do it to both sides. So we subtracted our 0 pairs. We were left with 4 equals 4 stars. So star equals 1, x equals negative 1. And we did 4 minus 1 minus 1 minus 1, which gave us 1. And then we already had a 1. Any questions on that one? You guys want to try one more? No. Too bad you are. Okay, I'll just write this one out. Okay, so you set up and I'll write out as you tell me what to do. So on our left side we have 3 star plus 20 equals 2x. So go ahead and set up your equation. So what do we want to do? Maggie, what do we want to do?
Add 3 blue pawns to each side.
Good. So we're going to add 3 x's to each side. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now what? Christian?
Take 3 0 pairs from the left side.
Now I can take off my 3 0 pairs, and I'm left with 20 equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5x. So x is equal to 4. And star equals
Negative 4.
negative 4. So going back to our original setup before we added on our x's, so we're doing 20 minus 4 minus 4 minus 4. So what's 4 times 3? 12. So 20 minus 12 equals 8. And then on our right side, 4 plus 4 equals 8. Any questions? Okay, you can turn it off, Ava.